As a single professional, I had debt and no savings after my divorce. I always wonder how I can start investing in real estate to secure my future. I studied programs that gave me all the benefits of investing in real estate. Some claim I could start with no money, but I could not find one that gave me the practical, actionable steps I needed. As a wealth advisor, I've met people that own real estate but weren't ahead financially. They were rich, but they weren't wealthy. Then I finally realized that there was one vital component missing that makes someone become wealthy or not. And on this show, I will reveal what I found and give you the step-by-step actions to start investing in real estate and increase your wealth. My name is Araceli. Let's get started. Welcome everyone. This is Araceli, and I am a real estate investor in the US and Canada as a wealth advisor as well. But today I'm here with an interview with a very nice lady that I met some time ago, I think a couple years ago. And she's going to tell us who she is, how she started in real estate investing. She has a very interesting story. Welcome, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you tell us what you do right now, a little bit about yourself, and then tell us about your story, how you got started in real estate investing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth LaPointe. I'm a realtor with LaPointe Real Estate Services. I've been a licensed realtor for almost 10 years. Prior to that, I had worked in a number of corporate positions, and most of them being in property management. So property management accounting. So I've always been in the bricks and mortar business, I guess. I decided to get my license when my last position got, I don't know, canceled, deleted, made irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it. It's not as easy as it looks, but helping people find their perfect home is what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I know. This is a job like your job, my job. They are not easy jobs because you have to always go out there and get clients.
That's the worst part of it. That's the hardest part of it, is actually selling yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, what was the first time that you actually got into real estate investing?
When, as I mentioned earlier, we had immigrated from Poland in 1968. My parents had no language, no real education. They started with factory jobs and very quickly learned that they can make some money investing in real estate. So they bought their first home within a year and a half. We lived in half the house. They rented out the other half. In fact, we had one tenant from that first house who ended up moving each time we moved and ended up marrying into our family. So
wow.
Great relationships, maybe different times, but as they went along and they enjoyed doing this and eventually purchased a duplex. So they were actually living in their own apartment and renting out the other half. Then they decided to really go into real estate investing and the whole landlord thing, and bought a 20-unit apartment building at St. Clair and Oakwood, and haven't stopped since. So my dad has since passed away, but my mom at 86 next month still runs a 24-unit apartment building. She's the boss. But that kind of got us into it as well, myself into it as well. We had the opportunity to buy a second home or an investment property when I was in my 20s. We made some money on it, ended up buying a larger home for ourselves. Life took over for a while with kids and other issues, and then My mom actually pushed us into getting another rental property about 14 years ago. So she wanted my daughter, who was in her late 20s, to get something for herself.
Yeah.
Grandma helped out with the down payment, but my daughter lived at home, had this townhouse in Streetsville, rented it out. Tenants paid for her mortgage, her property taxes, her maintenance, and with a little bit of help from Grandma, she was able to pay it off in 12 years and now is living in the home. We then as well purchased another rental property, and although not quite as exuberant as my mom, we sort of kept it as a single rental property. We've had the same tenant since we purchased it 8 years ago. And again, it's paying for the mortgage, it's paying for the taxes, it's paying for the condo fees. So it's a really good way of getting passive income eventually. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're just sort of breaking even, but
the current market conditions obviously have changed. But the point here is that you gotta get started somewhere, right? And I can see the pattern with your family. You know, they started renting room. That's the only thing that they could do at the time. And then they accumulated some more money and then continued to move. That is the one thing that many people want to start investing, but they don't know how. Oh, the market is too high right now. There's always a way to get started if you really want to do it. So I'm amazed at your story, because my story is totally different. Like, you know, my parents, even though they did have owned their property, but they never really enticed us to say, oh, buy your property, rent it, anything like that. There was nothing like that in my family. And it's not until I got divorced and lost jobs that I said, okay, wait a second. I gotta find something that can give me a little bit of stability and a little bit of passive income coming in. And that's how I got myself started. But it took me a long time to kind of have the guts to do it, right?
Well, and it is, at one point, it is pretty risky, because if you don't know the market, if you don't know. And, you know, my parents and my mom has had tenants that don't pay, you know,
of course,
destroy the place. But there are very good processes of getting good tenants.
Yeah.
And nothing is guaranteed, but and the landlord and tenant board is very lenient towards the tenants, but there are ways of figuring it out. My recommendation always has been to get something small, and if you can afford it, get two small things. So 2 1-bedroom apartments as opposed to like a 2-bedroom condo, because then you always have that split up. If there isn't any income coming in from one, you still have it coming from the other.
Yeah.
I never recommend huge single-family homes for rent for investment purposes, just because, you know, if you have a $2 million home that you want to rent out, that's a lot of money. The market is smaller for rental.
Yeah.
And if somebody moves out, it'll take longer to fill that room, fill that gap. So small, and in a lot of cases, especially if you're not experienced dealing with tenants, find a place where they have or hire a rental company or a management company that will deal with the tenant issues, and as well as some of the maintenance stuff. Condos are probably the easiest, because the condo corp takes care of a lot of the issues. So that's sort of the way that I would approach it, especially for first-time investors.
Oh, absolutely. I think that you're totally right, that sometimes we think that it's easy. It is very appealing to many people because I have a lot of people talking to me that they want to start, but they want to start in an advanced way. And I said, you know what? Start slow, because then you get to know a little bit of what you're doing. If you're comfortable with it as well, especially if you're going to rent a room in your house or your basement, right? Just to get to know your own personality.
That the sharing of a personal home is very difficult, and I don't know how it would be now, because I couldn't do that myself. I'm too much of a private person and I don't share very well.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult, especially to kind of meet the personalities and everything. But if you have that type of personality where you are, you get along well with others, or can overlook quirks and things like that, it's a great way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, I always recommend that if you do have the facilities, because sometimes it just doesn't, the place is not big enough, or you don't have a second entrance, and it's very difficult to do. But if you do have the ability to do it, it's the best way to kind of dip your toe in the water, right? And see, okay, is it okay for me to have people in my house? Can I deal with it? And sometimes it's really good because you get somebody that it's working the whole day and they just come sleep and you don't see the person.
Right. Yeah. And so another thing is, it's important that you should have totally separate living spaces. So sharing bathrooms or kitchens or things, it's great maybe for like university students, but if you have a family, that doesn't kind of work. The other thing is, make sure your basement apartment is a legal basement apartment, and it's insured properly, because it rarely happens, but when it does, and a fire starts in the basement and the insurance company finds out that it's a tenant, you're out of luck. They will, it's not in their policy to cover tenants. So
yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you follow all of those rules. Insurance is very important. Liability insurance. Your tenant falls down the stairs, they can sue you.
Yeah, and also make sure that the tenants have tenants insurance in the case there is a fire and something gets burned out in their own apartment, because that is not covered. I always try to, when I have tenants, and I says, listen, you have to understand that if something happens, my insurance only covers to replace the building, not to replace your stuff. You have to have your own insurance. So that is super important.
And if you're renting within your home, you need to check that your liability insurance will cover your tenant, or they need their own. So if they have a guest, if something happens, that they are covered, or your insurance covers it. But that needs to be very, it needs to be disclosed, because insurance companies, and I worked for insurance companies as well at one point in time, they're reluctant to part with.
Of course, they're gonna find it.
They're in their business to make money, right?
Of course, and they're gonna always try to find something that, oh well, this was not disclosed and we won't pay.
And rightfully so, because
absolutely. So that is one of the things that's what is important. Somebody that is starting new, to talk to professionals, either to a realtor, to a real estate investor, somebody that has a little bit of experience with it, because trying to save a little bit on insurance, it might not be the right way to go. It's better to disclose, pay a little bit more, but if something happens, then you're covered, and there is nothing that the insurance company will say about it.
That's great.
So do you help other people to get investment properties? What is your process?
Um, I've worked with people that are just looking for like a single investment property. So I don't have any large investors at this point, but again, I advise them that condos are the best, especially for starting out. We've tried looking at pre-construction. I'm not a fan of pre-construction, just because there has been so many developments, projects that they sell them out and then they close the project, and 2 years later say, oh, we can't start building. Here's your down payment, or
your money back.
Your money back, but that money 2 years later can't buy you the same thing. So
exactly.
I'm a little leery of pre-construction.
Wow, that's interesting.
I had a client that was interested in a pre-construction in Georgetown. The original developer started. Sorry, Theodora Wynn.
Somebody's calling you.
Oh, I forgot. The original development was started in 2015. They went for 3.5 years, decided that they're not going to do it. So in 3.5 years, that deposit makes, is a lot.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Every year that we go by without investing that money, you're losing purchasing power, right?
That's right. So, and then, 3 years later, someone else decided to start it. And of course, the prices are $150,000, $200,000 more per unit. And, they're selling it now but they don't have all the permits yet. So again, it's like, how long is this going to go on before they build or hold?
Yeah.
I was in a real estate forum, and one of the admins had asked of all the pre-construction projects that have canceled or closed, and the list went on and on and on.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So again, it's great for some people. Some people are, and it's still a minority that do that. So it's not like every developer closes.
Yeah.
But you always have to count on delays, and and the delays can be 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, that is exactly it. So that's what it's important to really know yourself and see what you're able to do, right? I'm not fond of condos, and the reason is because of the condo fees and all the regulations that you have, right? Some condominiums, they don't allow you to rent. You have to live in it. They don't allow Airbnb. There's a lot of restrictions when it comes down to it. So that's why I'm not too fond of it.
But some neighborhoods don't allow Airbnbs too. So, but again, it's I guess your level of risks that you're able to
your risk and comfort, right? Like what you want to do. So I know, I totally understand. It's so that's why it's important to start looking, if you are not a real estate investor, to look and to talk to professionals like Elizabeth, that she can just guide you, right? And tell you at what stage you are right now, and how do you want to move forward, and so on. Very, very important to do. So that's good. So tell me, if you have a new investor, is there anything that you recommend them to do as a first thing to do to start?
Well, the first thing they need to do is to figure out, talk to a mortgage broker. Investors, investment properties have a different mortgage rate and, different down payment rules and stuff like that. So you can't buy an investment property with 5% down and have it insured. So it needs to be at least 20%. Some lenders ask for 35%.
Wow.
So, and again, it depends on your lender, your relationship with them. So very important to develop a relationship with either a lender or a very good broker that knows the different avenues. And then determine what your risk is. Like, are you, and your actual income, can you carry something if it's not rented for 3 months? Or if if it's not a condo, if say the roof goes, can you afford to dish out $10,000 and be able to still carry that and live yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. There's too many moving parts and many things to consider. And as anything, you never know what is going to happen, right? Like you could have a good tenant to start with, and then something happens in their life and now they can't pay. And now you can't kick them out. And now you're going to be in the hook to pay for all the expenses that are coming out of the house. So yeah, it is important. And I think I understand why lenders would want you to put more money, because there's more risk, right?
That's right. There's definitely more risk for lenders. More risk for yourself as well, because if you're putting 35% down, you don't want your property to be, run down or empty because your money's not making anything.
Absolutely. So tell me, Elizabeth, what is your best story about real estate investing that you've had?
I guess I'll use the last one that I did. A young girl in her mid-20s decided that, her parents decided that she should do something with her money.
Yeah.
Was living at home. She had a good job. So we went out, purchased a 1-bedroom condo in Cambridge. She rented it out. She had it for 2.5 years, sold it, and made approximately $200,000 on it.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is, and you'd think that Cambridge, like who would want to rent in Cambridge? But Cambridge is a fair-sized town.
Oh yeah, it is. And now with the transportation and the 401, it's so easy to get to.
And working from home, people are moving out further out.
So this is actually a very interesting point that you make here, because I've got a lot of people, and actually I do have an episode for people that ask the question, how can I get my younger children to start buying property with the current conditions, right? So tell me a little bit about that. Have you had that a lot? Like parents are actually pushing their kids to get a property?
Somewhat, yes. And there's also the bank of mom and dad, where they will help with a little bit of down payment. And my look on this, as well as that's how my parents looked at it, is I'd rather help my kids now than wait for having them wait for me to die to get my inheritance, right? So my parents have helped us when we were starting out, and we've helped our kids when they're starting out. And I think a lot of people are thinking that way. Like, we were able to do it. Let's help our children do it. So whether it's the kids' first time home, or a little bit of an investment while they live at home.
Yeah.
It's a good first start. And it doesn't have to be big. Mind you, even small is expensive now. But, historically, real estate has not gone down.
Yeah.
So there may be a dip because the market is absolutely crazy right now. So there may be a dip in the next, especially if the government intervenes.
Yes.
But it's, over the years, historically, it's always gone up.
Absolutely. So what happened, like, if there is not help from parents, let's say you don't have parents or your parents are in a position of not helping you, what recommendations do you have for younger generations?
I try not to have any kind of, I don't know the mortgage side of things, so I'm not an expert in how to, arrange financing and stuff, so I don't do that. But one of the things that I do recommend is for them to sit down, list all their income and all their expenses, and do a budget. And a big part of that is saving for an investment property or a home.
Yeah.
Seeing it on paper makes it real. It's almost like when you're paying for something with cash at the store, it's more real than if you pull out your credit card. It's, that association, and maybe I'm just talking that way because I'm old, but I find it more difficult to spend cash.
No, but you know what? You are totally right. And throughout all my my videos and episodes that I've done, I always emphasize that we always have to start with our finances. Because nothing happens. It doesn't matter what you want to do, whether you want to buy a property or a car or anything like that. Nothing happens unless you are organized that way and that you can see long term. Because an investment property is not for tomorrow and I'm going to make tons of money and then I'm going to sell it the next day. It just doesn't happen that way. Anything that is investing, even going to university, is an investment. You just don't go one day and the next day you graduate. It just doesn't happen that way, right?
That's a good analogy, yes.
So those kind of things, like, I think because now we live in a society that is so driven by instant gratification. We have so much things that you can just get on the internet. You can just search for anything. You can get anything on the internet, buy it. Next day is there at your house,
that's your
right?
door, yeah.
And we also have credit, like you said. It's easy to say, oh, I have 10,000 in this credit card. Let's go and buy that nice big TV, right?
Yeah.
We can buy it here, but it is not your money. And I think that we need to go back to basics, right? Like, what is it actually what you can afford before you can actually swipe that card, right?
Well, that's right. I've had this conversation with my daughter on a number of occasions, and she's 40. So, it's interesting. But one of the things I saw recently is, I can't remember it exactly, but a school is teaching kids how to, budget and finances.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, that should be sort of started at grade 4. Just because, especially now, kids have everything they want for the most part. And I guess I'm speaking from a family that can afford everything. But though the kids don't understand. And I went through a period when I was a single mom and my kids were little, and I was going like, sorry dear, we can't afford this.
Yeah.
And it was, I had to say it, but they didn't understand.
I think there is a disconnection with this generation because of the accessibility to credit. Yeah. Which it seems that you can afford it because you can actually go to the store and they let you take it.
That's right. Yeah.
But it doesn't belong to you. You still have to pay for it. Because as I'm telling you, as a wealth advisor, I've seen so many people that have so much trouble going through debt, and they live with that debt. And it's really robbing you of the ability to save for an investment property and to move forward.
The credit cards the interest is like 25 or 30%. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll give you an example. I had clients that were looking actually just to rent a store. They
Yeah.
wanted to open a business. And so we found property and I ran their credit reports. And although their scores were not bad, the amount of debt they had on paper, when they saw it all in one space, they totally freaked out.
Yeah.
They knew, but they didn't know.
Yeah.
They weren't, oh yeah, we had a credit card, we bought something on credit from Best Buy or whatever. And it was just absolutely eye-opening for them.
Yep.
So that's the other thing that, potential investors or people planning should do. They should actually get their credit report, a detailed credit report, and to see in one space
Yeah.
what they owe. Because that is very eye-opening.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely are right. And you're talking for experience. I do actually have an episode that talks about the 8 things that you need to do to prepare financially to become an investor. And the credit report is one of them. So those things are so important. But Elizabeth, if somebody wants to contact you, what is the best way to get to you?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Elizabeth LaPointe, a Realtor, or my email address is elizabethlapointe@royallapage.ca. Phone text 416-710-2657. And I live and work in Mississauga, but I've also ventured out to Cambridge and Hamilton and areas like that. Information is readily available, so and I'm willing to travel.
Excellent. So, well, thank you very much for being here with us today. That was a really good story. I really appreciate you coming, and we will see you hopefully soon, and then you can give us a little bit more insight of what you're doing.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here on the show. Please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when there are more shows available. And if you would like to have more information on how to start investing in real estate, please visit my website at www.aracelihernandez.com. Thank you.